capture.
Yes, but with this, so what we have going on here is this one box here is the webcaster, so that actually creates this, what you're looking at, and then that box there is a DVR. So that's recording the screen, the camera's recording the audio.
Gotcha.
And we superimpose the two of them so that when they get, and then we put...
So does it become like HDR?
No, compressor. Thank you.
No, compressor.
Yeah, it says
Are you
kill the
ready?
compressor. You
Yeah.
need, yes.
Yeah,
Are you ready to
no,
go
we always
compressor?
forget to turn
Hi,
off
Ray.
the air compressor.
So, okay, what side, Johnny? What side, Ray?
Love my Hertz.
What side
All
from
I do
Jamaica?
All right, guys, thank you for coming here tonight and joining us for a
Johnny.
special edition of the show. They made it. Thank
We
you,
did.
Bill.
Welcome.
We have here today with us is Jeff Peters of currently Electromedia. For those of you that haven't been paying attention, Electromedia is Audison Hertz, hence his hat.
Yep.
It says Audison Hertz.
Audison, yeah.
Now, before we get going with that, as usual, you guys know if you need t-shirts, teespring.com/store/5star. D&F Tool Drawer is a place where you can find all the cool tools that we use. And of course, Patreon. Patreon right now, you get if you become a Patreon, you get the podcast, the only edition of the video podcast available. So that's a special bonus for you guys. So lots of fun there.
Yep.
All right.
Hello from Norway. What's going on?
Nice.
Yeah.
Hello, Norway.
So let's just get right into it. You've done a lot of things. You've been a lot of places,
Yes.
and you've worked for a lot of companies.
Yes, I have.
Currently, you're with Electromedia.
Yes.
How long have you been with these guys?
About a year and a half.
Okay, so you're fairly new to this company.
Yes.
But as we were discussing before we went live, this industry that we're all a part of, everybody knows everybody, and you know a lot of everybody's. You know a lot of people.
Or a lot of people know me.
A lot of people know. Okay, and we're gonna go with that. Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Look, the bonus show. That's right. So we got a bonus show today. So let's take it back a little bit and let's start in the early. Let's go back. Let's go back in history.
Okay.
And where did you get your start? So where did you get your love for audio? Because there's no way you've made it this far without a passion or a love for audio, whether it be car, home, or just sound. What was your passion for audio?
Music, and music led me to, at the time, which was called hi-fi.
Yeah.
I built my first pair of loudspeakers when I was 17. Liked it loud and proud, and the 60s music explosion kind of inspired me, and as a hobby it became more of a passion, and over time it led me down a path where I was at college and I had to go to school during the day, and then I had to work at night to pay for school. So, you know, in the long run I found myself in the audio business. First I was a clerk, and after being a clerk I became a commissioned salesperson. Then I left college with a degree in fine art, which led me to that, and a quarter
Designing
won't
album
even
covers?
No, I was a photographer, believe it or not.
Okay.
And,
Oh, that's cool.
and the thing about a degree in fine art is that you're educated to become an educator and then educate. So I didn't want to be a teacher. I didn't want to go through a master's program, and the audio industry was infectious. It was fun. It was easy to do,
Right.
and the industry was really exploding on the home side. And you know, it was at a time when Dolby Surround was being started, THX systems, and so I got into the custom home side, and the custom home side led me to a small company in Arizona called Rockford. So I went to work for Rockford Corporation and helped them develop some products.
So they had home?
They did in 1987, after they were on solid ground financially. They wanted to diversify, and so they wanted to develop some home products. I was a contractor for 7 years while I was selling, and they saw me as an expert,
Okay.
and so they hired me to help develop some products.
Did any of them make it to market?
They did for a very short period, but they bought an existing company called the David Hafler Company,
Okay.
and who made
Hafler.
Hafler
Yeah.
amplifiers.
Yeah.
And they also had an electrostatic company, electrostatic loudspeaker company called Acoustat. So
Okay.
those two companies were joined at the hip because David had owned both companies.
Okay.
So they were moved to Arizona, and they needed somebody to run the sales org, and so they said, Here, Mikey, you like it?
I remember
you
when
do
they,
this.
I remember when they bought
Right?
Hafler, because Hafler had a car amplifier too, didn't he?
They did. As I was leaving, Wayne Harris had developed a bunch of products for us.
Yeah.
And Wayne signal processors were like light years ahead. We had a 4-in, multiple out, separate sub out on our crossovers, and we had a 10-band EQ for the car. And
Do you remember the Gavotte?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was at a time the industry was really exploding, and Wayne was contributing, and I was struggling on the home side in this little company in Phoenix called Precision Power.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait for it. Here we go. A little company called Precision Power. Oh my gosh.
So I went to work for PPI, had a blast. It was, again, another great experience. And in 1994 when...
Oh, Jason D goes to saying hi.
Jason. So when those two companies split up, I went off to help start Extant Technologies with Jeff Schoon.
So let's slow it down.
Okay. Well, I have a lot.
I know.
That's a lot.
I have a lot on my plate.
Yeah, I know. So let's take a break right there. Let's talk about Extant for a minute.
Sure.
So Extant was one of those. Okay, PPI is definitely going to go down in history as one of the favorite car audio companies of all times for a lot of people. The Art series was, and probably still is, as an old school guy. Like, did you have the Art series PPI? Oh, how did you live? But on top of that would be Extant.
Right.
And that Extant, it was like you had Extant and you had Eclipse. And those two guys were just like, if you didn't have those two at that time, you sucked. I mean, regardless of if you did
I
or
wish
not.
more people felt like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I didn't have them. I was an Orion guy, so I just looked at Extant as a welcome to my science project amplifier. Please don't drop any shavings on the inside of it.
Yes, that was a common problem.
Yes.
It was a very common problem.
Okay, so it wasn't just me. All right.
But you can always tell the Pathfinders because they're the ones with the arrows in their back.
Oh,
so
jeez.
that's what happens is when you break new ground,
Yeah.
those pioneers generally have to struggle through a lot of problems. And with Extant, the idea of opening an amp up to an installer and allow you to go in and actually configure an amplifier,
Yeah.
which was like a computer, right?
Yeah.
We assumed too much.
Yeah, it was
And
scary.
in assuming so much, there was an intimidation factor, and more importantly, we didn't recognize that. Common practice in the installation bay was you would strip your wires over the amplifier before you made a final fit,
Yeah.
right? Because you'd cut the length and then you'd do this. Well,
Yeah.
you know, when you connect a circuit board with a bunch of little pieces of wire, the wrong things get connected. You'd let the smoke out. Okay. And when you let the smoke out, of course, it broke. So,
Yeah.
you know, there was that initial reliability issue, and but we were promised we were a breakthrough product. I mean,
Yes, it was.
You know, the whole idea of a single system footprint solution, which was everything in one can, and you had crossovers, noise gates, processing
Everything.
inside of one can. That was unique, and it was breakthrough. And I think if you look at any amp on the shelf today, what you're going to see is a mirror of that idea.
Yeah. Well,
Right? You
somebody had
don't.
to be
Nobody
first.
sells an amp. It all has everything in it that you need.
Well, I mean,
So-
and plus too, back then the idea of a 4-channel amp was taking two 2-channel amps and put them under one heatsink and go, here's a 4-channel
Hey,
amp with
Randy's
4 power
there.
wires.
Randy.
So, I mean, that was the old school 4-channel amp. Let alone in even with Precision Power, the thought of an EQ circuit was the EQ bass boost on the side. You know,
Right.
as they coined the phrase, the Mo Better bass button.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You know, 12 dBs at 45 hertz. Here we go.
But
Rock
the,
on.
But the real inventor of that was Jim Fosgate
Yeah.
with the Rockford punch curve.
Yes.
And that's really what excited the audience, was the fact that you could tilt the stage like a loudness contour in a car, and people had never had that experience.
Right.
Right.
So
And
along
so
comes Extant, taking it extinct.
Well, it is now, yes.
Yeah.
Except there's one in my garage.
Is there one in your garage?
There's one in my garage.
Just don't ever put it on eBay.
Yeah,
Things
right.
go crazy on eBay. What's
Yeah.
up, Jeff?
Yeah,
Jeff
exactly.
Smith is saying hi.
Hi, Jeff.
All right, so we do a couple years at Extant. We come out with some amazing products.
4 years.
4 years. Wow, that's a long time.
Yes.
And that was in the heyday. So I mean, that was, dude. Okay, so you hop on the train for Precision Power right
Yes.
when that's leaving the gate, and that was that, and then you
Timeline is like 1990.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right,
No.
right.
Yeah. I'm that's I started this. I got my first job July of 1990 was my first paycheck in car audio. Up until then, I graduated high school, was going to college, did the thing, got my job doing clerking and cleaning the bathroom, and so these were all the relevant 90s, man. The 90s was cool. It was like, hey, wow, we can make coax, we can make component speakers and put them in one box with a crossover and sell them.
Exactly.
People will buy them instead of just, here's an amp for your mids, here's an amp for your tweeters.
Right.
That stuff didn't exist. It was like, yay, All right, so we go from precision power, we go to extant. Where do we go after that?
We get solicited on the floor of an IASCA event to work for MB Court. And
this is where the fun happens.
Well, it's a kind of a unique thing because, as I've tried to explain in the past, Rockford has a sort of a circle of fans and reps and dealers. PPI had its own.
Yes. Oh, we were very
And MB
segmented.
Court was kind of a part of the PPI extant side.
Yes.
So it was kind of a natural transition for me.
Right.
It was a new experience because I got to work out of my house, which was great.
Okay.
It was an early officing thing. I was the Western Regional, so I took care of everything west of the Mississippi.
Okay.
And it gave me maximum flexibility. It gave me an opportunity to work with new people, and it opened up my experience to a lot of dealers that I had never met before. So for me, it was awesome. It
Were you
was
just
totally
doing car,
awesome.
or were you doing car and home?
We attempted at home. We did not do a very good job of it. You sell what's hot.
Yeah.
I mean, we all do if we're in sales. I mean,
Right.
you can't lie. I mean, they made great home product. It was
Yes.
just that our focus was where the money was.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
where was
yeah.
the money? Was in car.
Yeah.
So I'm just being honest.
Well, I mean,
And-
that's the company I went to work for. It started out as a home/car, and
Right.
we turned to car because the money in home was drying up or getting harder, and car was just on fire in the 90s. So
Well, that's kind of why I left the Hafler side, because home was in like a transitional period,
Right.
whereas car was on fire. And considering the fact that I built my first pair of loudspeakers, the idea of going to work for companies that were changing things, almost going back to the audio amateur side, where we were talking about crossovers with customers, and we were talking about custom enclosures, boarding sealed, all of
Yeah,
that
it's
stuff.
all the
For
fun
me, that
stuff.
was exciting.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was at a time a pretty heavily technical nerd, but over time you lose that.
Yeah.
You have other things to worry about, right? But that was exciting.
Spreadsheets.
That was
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, the 90s were great. I mean, and so now you go to MB Courts and you're regional,
Right.
and you're having fun doing that.
I am.
Mixing it up with everyone.
Yeah, and then another opportunity knocked. One was to move to the U.S. headquarters for MB and take a higher sales position. And the other one was an opportunity at Rockford again to
Okay.
do European sales. And so as my wife looked at me and said, "You're not going to apply for that
Yeah.
job, are you?" "Oh, honey, I have no international experience. Why would you think they would ever hire me?" Well, guess what?
They hired
hired me.
So where did
So-
you move then?
So then in 2000, we moved to Germany, and I was the European sales manager. And as a European sales manager, I oversaw 23 countries
Wow.
that we distributed to. And then there was a high level of attrition of expatriates, and that was sort of the last man standing from the U.S. So I became the managing director of Rockford Europe.
Okay.
So I mostly focused on selling. I don't want to make this sound like I had all these other roles, but
No.
but I had a colleague who was from Germany. He was a German, Jean-Michel, and very competent individual. So he took over the day-to-day stuff, and I did the 30,000-foot selling stuff. So we did that, and then a couple years into it, Rockford Europe and Rockford USA purchased MB Corp. So the irony was, I went from working for the U.S. organization
Yes.
to then literally running and owning the organization.
That is
So
hilarious.
it was pretty exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that
I think anyone that got involved in Rockford back then was just from all the guys we've had on the show, that was the company that you could never get away from. It seems like it was like
no, and we talked about this before. I mean, I think anybody that's a part of that fraternity has a sweet spot in their heart
yeah.
for it. I mean, it never leaves you. I mean, was a breakthrough company, and it's a great camaraderie, and I have a great respect for it. And it was an incredible opportunity.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I was there for 4 years. And
Yeah. Mark lands and say, "Hey, what's up, Jeff?"
Mark, how are you?
All right, so now you're living in Germany. Your Rockford just got MB Court, and you're running the whole thing.
Right, and for me, the focus was to take a brand that was instrumental in kind of changing the industry and reigniting it with some pretty incredible loudspeakers, was to show that, in good faith, that Rockford were going to be good stewards. And so, as such, we completely redeveloped the line, developed some new loudspeaker technology, and within a year, we birthed about 36 new products.
Wow.
So,
36
for me,
products in a year.
yeah.
That's
Yeah, the
insane.
Germans didn't like me very much.
No, they didn't.
Wow.
No, they
No,
didn't.
they didn't. Yeah.
John wants to know if you knew an Albert Lopez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go, John. He knew Albert. It sounds like this.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you guys are
Yeah,
hearing
there's
this,
a hurricane here.
There's,
Oh, yeah.
there, it is
It's
raining.
outside.
It's raining outside. So it's
Crazy.
Apparently, I'm not running tonight.
Yeah, apparently not.
Apparently not. Yeah.
What's up, Dan?
So okay. So let's living in Germany. What kind of car did you drive?
I drove a BMW, and I also drove a VW Passat turbo diesel.
Ooh, okay. Two nice cars. Did you put stereos in them?
Yes, I had a Rockford system. Not in the BMW, just because it was my about town car.
Okay.
Okay, and for a while I had to commute from Bremen in the north to Mosbach in the south, and because I had to commute, I actually had to have tunes.
Okay.
I wasn't
so
gonna
the
do that
Passat
without
had
tunes.
the Passat had.
Yeah,
the
it was a
stereo.
wagon. and
Okay.
So we could haul stuff. It was really good.
What'd you
And
put in it? Do you remember?
It was a component system, Rockford component system in the front, coaxes in the back. I had a sub built into the wall, and then I had a couple of amps.
Okay. Do you have a system now?
I do.
Okay, we'll get back to that.
Okay.
Just wanted to check.
Yeah.
Just wanted to check. It's no
Okay.
problem. And if it's not with the current brand you're with, I understand. It's okay. You've only
It's
had them for a
okay.
year and a
Yeah,
half,
right.
so
Yeah.
they'll forgive you, I'm sure.
Oh, of course they will. Yeah.
Okay, so your wife is happy. You're living in Germany. She's doing all the fun shopping. Life is going well.
Yes.
Another knock at the door.
Well, I had a 4-year contract, so I chose not to extend my contract. So
Okay.
we came back to the U.S.
So you actually have contracts.
Well, I had, because it was an overseas position.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And if you understand, based upon what's happening today and all, but I was a green card holder.
Yes.
So, because I was a resident, but because of their immigration laws, I had to actually go through a process in which the job was offered into the German community, and if no one could fill that position, then I was accepted as a
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
expatriate.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We had a customer that's actually in Italy and was going through that
Right.
same thing.
So when you're like that, yeah, you have to be under contract, and because they're upending your life.
Right.
So I agreed to not less than 3 and not more than 4 years.
Okay.
So it was close to the end of the 3rd year, and I was about to terminate at the 4th year, and I opted to, as I like to say, my kids were still here in the United States. Blood is thicker than money,
Yeah.
and so
Oh,
it
no.
was like, yeah, I love it here, but my family's calling me, so we opted to go home.
Go home. Yeah.
And then I came back and worked at Rockford for a period, and then an opportunity presented itself to become the distributor here in the United States for Illusion Audio
Illusion.
Wow.
and MB Court. This was quite a time after I had left Rockford, but
Right.
I actually left the industry for a short period and went
You're
to work
kidding.
for an old colleague. No.
How could you
And-
dream?
Okay, now they'll picture this. I
Okay.
was
All right.
I was well taken care of. I was in an industry I knew nothing about, and at 2:30 in the afternoon, almost religiously every day, I would start surfing, looking at car stereo. And I had told the guy that hired me, if I last a year, I'll be here forever. And at about the 6-month mark, I looked at him and I said, "Not happening. It's not. It's just
What were
not
you?
happening."
Can you tell us what you were selling?
Yeah, I was in an industry that had kind of 2 product lines. One was a printing side of the industry for the industrial side of the of industry. The other side was a patented product called zipper tubing, and zipper tubing is the ability to run retrofit insulation over piping.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
it's a great product. It's done at a high commercial level. A very successful company. They used a melamine product that they would cut and then wrap with a thing, and you could attach it on a pipe. I liked running wires and speakers and amplifiers a lot better. If you can appreciate that. So anyway, I tried it. You know, I mean, you're always bitten by this industry. I believe once you get in it,
pretty much,
it's kind of hard to get out of it. Right? So.
Yeah, exactly. That's the scene that just played in my head. You know, they keep pulling you back. Thanks.
As soon as you're in, you never get out.
All right, Illusion Audio. All right, so I'm detecting a pattern here. I mean,
4 years and out, yeah.
Well, there's that, but no, we got PPI, we got Extend, we got MB Chords, we had Rockford, and now we got Illusion Audio. Dude, you've dealt with some of the most high-end brands that this industry's had to offer. You're aware of that, right?
Well, you don't think about it at the time, but I think what was always been most attractive is that these brands bring me back to the same dealers.
Yes.
And the same kind of dealer base, which is a brick and mortar specialty dealer.
Oh, for
and
sure.
it's where I feel the most comfortable. Now, I'm not here to tell you I haven't sold big boxes and things of that nature, but my roots come from.
We'll get to in a minute.
Yeah, right. but I come from a small store, suburb of Phoenix. I worked there for 7 years, and you know, we sold a lot of high-end brands and had a lot of great relationships with customers, and so it's just who I am. It's where I come from. So having products that I can sell back into that side of the business has been always rewarding. So
definitely.
So you know, it's kind of a simpatico thing.
So you distributed the products.
Yeah, at a fairly minimal level, because the original Illusion people carrying the group that actually birthed that brand, they had gotten out of it, and it was the distributor Peerless out of India that had been manufacturing it.
Peerless.
That actually approached me.
They're out of India?
Well, Peerless, this is a long conversation. Peerless was a large European company, and it was divested, and one of the companies that got divested that still bears the name is called Peerless India.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And they OEM for
a lot of people.
They do, yes.
Yes, they did. Because we actually used to buy direct dish from Peerless instead of back in the day when everyone used the Peerless tweeter. We were just buying them from Peerless because you could buy pallets of
I think
tweeters.
You could see every home loudspeaker that had a dome. We'd all go, "Oh, that's Peerless."
Exactly.
Whether it was or not. I mean,
Peerless or dying.
Right. Exactly. Oh yeah, dying. Yeah, got it. Got it.
What's that, Sean? What's that, Chad?
Okay.
Shane.
So, moving forward,
yes,
we're distributing some Illusion. Things are going okay.
And then the brand that was really pulling in the income was MB Cord.
Yeah.
And a company out of Chicago called Maxonics purchased MB Cord out of receivership, and essentially indirectly put me out of business, because if they owned the brand, they didn't really need a distributor, because they're a very credible corporation out of Chicago. And fortunately, they approached myself and my partner at the time, Brian Sherman, and they said, "Why don't you come and work for us, and you guys can keep selling the MB Cord into the U.S. market."
So what happened to Illusion? It's just kind of
Illusion, we just kind of let go, and then eventually it was picked up by Orca.
Okay.
But it was a lot of years in between.
Yeah.
A lot of years in between.
I remember that company just kind of fell off the earth there.
And we, in the early days at Hertz, actually had a reverse motored driver.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we did. So that technology was known, and it was utilized by a couple of different companies.
Well, Bose does it currently now. Or, I'm sorry, whoever's making the Bose speaker for the General Motors is using that same...
reverse motor?
Yeah, they do that same basic idea.
It's kind of ingenious, actually.
It saves space. Actually, Kenwood did that for a little bit too with one of their 6.5s that we have sitting over in the case there, where they put the motor, they flipped it around and did it backwards. That was Kenwood for about 2 years, had a shell mount 6.5 with the motor on backwards for a mid-range with neodymium on the front. And
right.
It was a neat idea, you know.
Expensive.
Very.
Neodymium, yeah. Anyways.
10 times the strength and the price.
Well, you can buy it graded. You can buy cheap stuff, or you can buy the good stuff, because it'll oxidize. And its magnetic properties will erode over time.
Yes.
You buy the cheap stuff.
Yeah, well, no, and that's funny. That's what a lot of people ask every time.
Why
you
do I
mention-
know that?
Because that's what people ask. You know, like anytime we talk about neodymium, that's actually one of the things that people ask us is like, what
Fun fact.
type of neodymium is it used, and do you worry about whether or not the neodymium will degrade over time? And it's like, I'm not the engineer that bought this stuff. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what level these guys are making.
Usually the
this.
price of the product will represent the grade of the neo.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
Yeah. So
If you're price point oriented, then you want its properties, but you don't want a long life.
right,
It's what it is.
because your $50 or a $10 tweeter is not going to have good neo in it.
You couldn't afford to sell it for $10.
Right.
I mean, you could if you wanted to lose money, but no. Anyway,
Yeah.
this is,
It's
Not a
okay. It's okay.
conversation.
It's okay.
we're going down a rabbit hole that's probably not pursuable. But
No, it's all right because believe it or not, it's one of the topics we've been asked. So I mean, it's okay to mention that kind of stuff. People like to know, you know, and that's fine. But we go back to we're at Maxonic. We're having some fun there.
right, and somewhere along the line, another opportunity presented itself, and I was given an opportunity to go work for Kicker. So that was a big move for us because we had spent 4 years in Germany, and the job required us to move to Oklahoma.
Wow.
So we had to sell our house in Arizona, pack it all up, move to Stillwater, and then I worked with Stillwater for about the next 7.5 years. It was a great experience. It was freaking awesome, quite honestly.
So if you guys caught the show when we had Bart and all them on a couple weeks ago, they all know each other. They've all
Oh yeah,
worked
we
together.
do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So
Great respect for all of them, quite honestly.
yeah. So what did you do for them?
A lot, I think. At least I'd like to think I did. I'll pat
was good.
myself
That
on
was
the back. Okay.
So what was your job title? I should ask. when you
I
worked
was
for-
the director of the domestic market, so I basically oversaw the United States.
which is a big place.
It's a big place, and you know, Kicker's always had a fabulous name, and we had some hurdles to overcome. We were part of Circuit City, we were part of Chrysler, we were OEMing for Chrysler. Chrysler goes out of business, that's a big hit. Circuit City goes out of biz, that's a big hit. And you got to understand, when you're supplying big suppliers like that, you actually have to have a standing inventory to supply them. Supply chain can't get interrupted.
Yeah.
So that means when they go bye-bye, your warehouse is full.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's huge. So we struggled for a couple of years, and we had to make sure that we could sell, baby, sell, as my phrase went. And you know, we all worked as hard as we possibly could to keep selling, to keep selling, to keep selling. And then it wasn't, I want to say, 4 or 5 years into it, then the company allowed us to strike out on a new approach, a new strategy, and that new strategy was to bifurcate the line, come up with a line that we eventually called ProFit. We adopted a UMAP policy, and then our whole idea was to clean up the bad distribution, clean up the internet, reestablish pricing, reestablish value for the brand, and move forward. Not necessarily as a renewed company, but as a company that had a different stature in the
Right.
marketplace. And it was a lot of hard work. It was really a lot of hard work. And along the way, you know, when you have a sales responsibility, I'm just speaking truth now, you can't terminate a lot of bad business because you've got to replace that business.
Right.
So you look for sources where you think there's credibility. And within that scheme, we eventually went to Best Buy and landed Best Buy, which was a great partner with us. They understood where we were going, and we did great business together. They were not disruptive. In some minds, they were disruptive, but to us,
Yeah.
we felt like they were a bell cow.
Right.
And they were brick and mortar. And
Right.
they always followed MAP policy, so they were non-disruptive on the internet. And we eventually went to Walmart, and I got a lot of arrows in my back for that. That was not well appreciated
Right.
by the dealer base. But
Right.
here's my argument, I guess, if I have my day in court, which is, you know, you have hard brick and mortar sales. You have 3 million views a week of the brand on a shelf. You have no salespeople, and the prices they were offering as everyday low price were approximately $5 to $7 over MAP. So they weren't violating MAP. They were buying at the same price as my brick and mortar dealers were buying. and they basically represented the brand in a wide field of view to a lot of customers.
Right.
So the only disruption was in the mind of our dealers, who felt that from a perceptual point of view, if you are at Walmart, you're kind of degrading the brand. But
Right.
ultimately, it turned out to be a very good partnership.
Right.
And
Well, it's funny. We talked about this with Bart and Dave when they were here, because my thought on the whole thing was that if we decided that we didn't want to buy from Walmart anymore, then okay, so you're not going to buy Pampers, you're not going to buy Kleenex, you're not going to buy Fruit of the Loom, you're not going to buy Apple products, you're not going to buy Samsung products, because all these products are there. They're all there to be sold. So you're going to say, oh wait, I can't buy Kicker because Kicker's there? No. Plus the other thing too is it actually did the industry a service, because and my argument was when I had John here, Schneid, I said, how many dealers do we have in Florida alone? I mean, there's, how many, what do you got, like 500 dealers in the state of Florida that sell car audio of some form?
At least.
Okay.
yeah.
How many dealers do you have in North Dakota? How many?
7,000.
No, you'd be surprised, but there's probably a core of at least 100.
Exactly, though.
Yeah,
but I
right,
mean, when
right.
you look at how big some of these areas are, there's a Walmart there.
Well, but you can also look at it this way, which is it's 3,000 brick and mortar locations as opposed to one bad guy on the internet.
Yes.
The one bad guy on the internet is far more disruptive, and the product
Yeah.
is treated with respect. It's well merchandised, and you have a good buying experience if you choose to be a do-it-yourselfer.
Yeah.
We didn't say we went there because we want everybody to be a do-it-yourselfer.
No.
And in fact, a lot of my successful dealers actually walked over to Walmart because it was in the automotive department and left their business cards and say, if you have somebody buying Kicker and they need help installing it, please send them my way.
Yeah.
And that relationship
It's
worked
good,
really
but-
to everyone's
yeah.
benefit. So, and Walmart's probably the largest brick and mortar retailer on the planet.
Right.
So,
They are. I'm
it,
pretty
you know,
sure they are.
it's pretty hard to say that that's a bad decision.
No.
And especially when they're respecting price and respecting the brand. And what it allowed us to do was kill a very high number of dealer distributors that preferred to sell it through the internet or sell it
Yeah.
out the back door. So
Right.
I thought it was a good move.
I did too.
Yeah.
I pay for it, but
Yeah.
I think it was.
Hindsight is wonderful, but I mean, no, and that was a neat thing that Kicker did when they decided to clean everything up and change, and they definitely put
No,
themselves.
the one thing you got to remember
Yes.
is that it wasn't my decision.
No.
I spearheaded the effort, but it was ultimately left to the executive
Yep.
board, the executive VP. So,
Oh, yeah.
So Mr. Irby and Mr. Limbaugh
Yeah.
and I,
Oh no,
we all went there.
We
and-
touched on it. Bart, you
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Bart,
yeah, yeah,
basically,
yeah.
you and Bart basically are telling the same story. So,
Yep.
Right.
it was a good. In the end of the day, it was a good move.
The rep meeting wasn't any fun.
No, oh no. But
When we
you know,
had that, it was
just-
a little
just
downer.
Just like change isn't always easy. You know what I mean? Change isn't always easy. But this industry is changing. It's evolving. It's become something different than what it was in the '90s. So we have to move with it. So
Right, and I too think that, Mr. Irby's vision and dream, which is really Kicker, ultimately you wanted to live to fight another day.
yeah,
And in a challenging marketplace, you have to do what you have to do for survival, and you hope the decisions you make are not disruptive and true to the brand.
correct.
And I think all those decisions that he has made up to this point in time has been pretty true, dead on. So, I think I was just a part of the team.
Yes,
Right.
And I was fortunate enough to be there.
I was
and
there.
I think,
I got my card stamped.
I was there.
I was not there.
All right.
No, yeah.
So Oklahoma, as fun as it sounds like it is, it has its toll that it takes on every individual. It's
Right.
and then you decided to move from there. Took some time off.
I actually came back to Arizona,
Okay.
and which is where my kids live. So
Okay.
once
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
the family thing happening.
Understandable.
And we moved into a general location that was really close to the kids, so that was really good. I had some medical issues that I had to deal with, which is a back problem. And that kind of laid me up for a period of time. And then eventually, as I came back out of the operation, I got an opportunity to work for Diamond.
Diamond.
Diamond Serwin Vega.
There you go.
and they had been purchased by a company out of Los Angeles, and I was fortunate enough to get to work with them, and I officed out of Tempe, so that was the development office where Larry Fredericks was located.
Now this
So it
was
good.
was this when Diamond was just starting to make their big climb?
No,
back
we're
into the
talking
world,
now.
or-
The Wayback Machine has brought us all the way up to about 2015, 2016.
Okay, so they had already made their this is the current product line. That
Yes,
they're,
absolutely
they're,
it is,
They're,
yes.
they're peddling now, and so you're on board with this and having.
Well, it was a little challenging because the two lines are viewed in different ways, and my
yeah.
focus was only Diamond. And because of companies like Electromedia, it made selling Diamond rather difficult.
Understandable.
I mean, we make great,
Yeah.
we have great product. Diamond has great products.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
But-
problem is the marketplace is a crowded house. And
Yeah.
fighting your way into those marketplaces, I mean, the niche that eventually Diamond entered was on the motorcycle side.
Yes.
With their mini compact amplifiers that work
Right.
very well in a
Right.
fairing and that kind of thing, and that's kind of where their focus is today. When I left, it was because I hadn't. In sales, you live and die by the numbers,
Right.
and when you don't hit the numbers, then it's just a logical conclusion that
It ain't for
Right.
you.
it ain't going to happen.
Right.
So, we parted as friends, and, we say hi every time we're at a show together, and it's just the way it is. But then I got an opportunity at Electromedia, and so now I'm home.
So let's talk about Electromedia for a minute or
Sure.
two or three or a little bit. All right, Shane keeps asking. We'll touch on this real quick. What do you think about MB Chords? And I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this question. It's a name right now. It's not a product like it was. Is that your pretty much take on
Let
that?
me explain it this way.
Okay.
When I was associated with MB Corp here in the United States and in Germany, we were what I affectionately call a prime manufacturer. So as a prime manufacturer, we made everything from the baskets to, we had dies for the cones, we hand assembled the tweeters, we stamped our own domes, QC was 100%. Then, it was sort of the quality went in before the name went on.
Right.
And that kind of manufacturing, that kind of controlled environment is expensive, and it creates a certain kind of product. The MB Corp today is a quality product, but it is kind of a manufactured product, meaning they specify the product and
I
engineer
like
it,
that.
but it is built by a secondary company and delivered to the primary company.
Manufactured.
Yeah.
It's called Vibrate, Bill. It's a little switch on the side.
Yeah,
It's okay, man.
I hope my wife doesn't
Yeah,
call me.
yeah.
I'll have to turn my phone off here.
Manufactured. I love that, man. I've never heard that before.
Well, somebody made it up a long time ago.
Yeah, I know, but that's great. I like it.
And there's nothing wrong with it. There's
No.
a ton of companies that do that, and it's all about who your supply source is, how you do quality control, and how
Yeah.
you deliver a quality product. But it is a completely different process than if you are the prime and your engineer's mind's eye of the final product is more closely met if you make it
Correct.
than if you source it out.
Right.
Okay.
But I mean, we all have to, like you said, we live and die by the spreadsheet. So if you're not making the numbers, sometimes manufacturing is the way the business works.
Yeah, and I think that it has forced many a company to have to do that, because to stay competitive in the environment today, which ultimately typically has always been a race to zero, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
and we were all patronized for a ton of years that you could get bigger and better next year for less money, right? So
Yep.
technology was worthless. Well, it's not worthless. There's a cost associated with all of it. And
Yes.
what we struggle to do is to create a quality product that delivers superior performance at a competitive price,
Right.
right? And in the world of product, you've got to weigh all of those issues in order to be able to deliver that product, satisfy your dealer, satisfy your consumer, and all meet a certain price point. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, everybody has to make money
Right. Oh,
in
of
order
course.
to perpetuate the brand. I mean,
Right.
it's just the way the world works. So,
Yeah.
so when you look at prime manufacturing, it's a very expensive endeavor, and when you do that, what you do is you create a product mix that tends to be slightly more expensive. Okay. Which is a good segue to Electromedia
But
because
see, it was actually where I was going.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I just wanted it was a great segue, and I'm going to jump on it. But this was the same that dinner I was telling you about I had with Mr. Irby and all those.
Right.
This was one of the topics that we were talking about when I was like, what do you still find exciting? And he was like, being able to make all these pieces fit inside of that box.
yes,
Is where he gets a lot of his excitement from, because that's the challenge. That's the challenge. You have all this demand that you have to meet and get it into here, and to make this product, and that's his like yay.
right, and it has to sound.
Yes,
He has his own sonic
yes.
signature, and it's not going to leave until it has it. And
Right.
it has to be built in so that he can eke it out.
Yeah.
So that it's there when the product is
Yep.
birthed. I mean,
And
this
that
is
was
the process.
that was the
Yes.
topic we were talking about. But jumping back to where you just brilliantly segued us into, one of the things I want to discuss. You've been to Italy twice.
I have.
And for those of you guys that don't know, Electromedia.
Well, I've been there more than twice, but
Yeah. For on their paycheck.
Yes.
On their
Yes.
on their
Yes.
dime. So, Electromedia is out of Italy.
At Potenza Pacina, which is on the Adriatic side.
There you go. And one of the products that they make is called the Thesis.
Yes.
One of the products. Now, everything that we were just talking about building your own product, this is a product that is built in-house 100%, more or less.
Yeah, I can clarify that processors, Prima, and Thesis are all built in Italy.
Okay.
Okay. Some of our other amps we do have built in China.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
there again, that goes back to what we were talking
About before.
Yeah,
yes.
so I mean, that's good. Let's talk about a Thesis for a minute. So, Ada's late. Sorry, Ada, you're late. The Thesis is kind of the pinnacle of car audio nirvana. I mean, it's like, it's here.
Yeah.
Everything else kind of circles this area.
Now you have
or
to
this
clarify
area.
because we make a general line of Thesis products, and then we make a Venti,
The Venti.
and the Venti is the $13,000+.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the glowing jewel of the line.
Right.
So when we want to talk about something that is hand built and is all right, how long does it take them to build one?
Takes an entire day. That starts with chassis and parts, which are laid out on a bench, and
Now, do we mean day 24 hours or day?
well, a work day.
Work day.
A
It takes a
work day.
full
Call it
work day
11 hours
to build
Right.
one.
to
Just
build
to build
one.
one.
To build one. So you have a Singular Craftsman that has high tolerance parts, which are laid out on a bench.
Derek has a Vente. Okay.
There you
He's
go.
gonna
Wow.
test it. That's old school car stereo. The guy that
I
does
love
all
it.
he's got a. Oh wow, good for you.
So, anyways,
okay.
so,
I'm sorry. Back on.
So
focus.
that's cool. So these parts are then hand assembled, and it goes through a series. There is a computer that is utilized to make sure that setup is done correctly. Then it is burned, and then it is final QC'd, and then it is put in a box. But that takes an entire day to do.
Now, how many guys do they have that actually built these?
Well, the guy, I only saw one.
Right.
Okay,
You saw Tim.
there it is.
Yeah. All right. So for those of you that aren't familiar with it, this is it here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it's huge. It's bigger than this iPad.
It's a big iPad.
It's a big iPad. It's bigger than a 12-inch. Okay. So you saw the one guy making them.
Well, that's the only part on the line that does make them.
Right.
I mean, it's not like it's a line.
No, it's
like
the
if
desk.
you had a, I don't know, 18-foot long table, he owned 12 of it.
Okay.
Okay,
Look at that.
that was his.
That was it.
This
is
and
mine.
Wow.
wow, look at that. That's pretty.
Oh yeah. So there. Yeah.
That's Jeff's car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Not.
Here's
Look
another.
at that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a pretty amplifier. There's no question about that. All right. Stop sidetracking us.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, so the concept is if you take the finest components you can find, you put them all together, you have a singular individual who's a master craftsman, hand build a product. What you end up with is not just a better product, but a far superior product. And as a far superior product, what you're looking at is an aspirational product. So with this Singular Amplifier, which is a glowing jewel, really is when you see one. It gives you a sense of how good it can be, but it also then influences you into looking at the Thesis line, the regular line,
Yeah.
which falls well below it in the $3,000-$4,000 range.
Or even down to the Voce, because if you can
Right.
if you have the technology and the engineering to make this,
This
then
Holy Toledo.
yeah. Yes, radar.
Right.
Then you can definitely move. Yeah, you move it down. Adam wants to know how long ago was the Thesis engineered? I mean, when was?
How long ago that was?
How long has it been in the marketplace?
Yes.
I'm going to guess without going to a fun fact. I
Yes.
believe it's been in the market for 6 or 7 years.
Right. And if it ain't
Yeah.
broke, don't fix it.
Well, I'm sure I can tell you my company is famous for making tweaks without really talking about making tweaks.
Well, yeah.
And the only way you know it is to look at a board number for
Right.
a RAV.
Okay.
Because I think every engineer, after he births anything, feels like he could have made it better.
Yes.
And that could be a change in the diode, that could be a change in a resistor value, and that could be a change in a component part.
Right.
And so they're never going to reveal that, because I think that the idea is to guarantee that it'll always be as good as or better than it originally was. And I think that that's the promise of anything that's a kind of a piece of art.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
that's totally a piece of art.
So I was reading that they grabbed the Thesis, the original Thesis, and another amplifier, combined it together to make the Venti,
Right.
and so they can have the quality of the power and also the
The fidelity.
fidelity of the sound. So
I have actually witnessed on a board at one of our dealers listening to a regular Thesis product, and when he kicked the Venti in, the stage went like this and went like that, and I was, my jaw dropped. So it's perceptible. It's truly perceptible. It's very cool, and I think that the industry needs aspirational product. People would say, well, that's stupid. That's $13,500.
No.
But I mean, I look at it this way, which is, how if you don't know how good it can be, then how can you strive to have a good system?
right.
Oh yeah, no, and I totally agree with that assessment. Just like when you heard that first, like you said, you worked for Rockford. Okay, Rockford has a specific sound,
Yes.
and when you move away from that sound and you go, oh, well, that's different. I didn't.
Right. Well, there's many solutions to the same problem as how to take a small signal and make it big.
Yeah.
Well, that's all an amp really does.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
right.
what the term amplify means.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, in my mind, it's engineers coming up with different solutions, and it's their kind of cake mix,
Right.
which creates a sound signature. And every company has a lead engineer that mixes their product, and that's why they all have their own sound signature.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why PPI sounded like PPI, and Orion sounded like Orion,
Yeah.
Rockford sounded like it did, and
Even though they
Stamp
all-
did, and
even though
JL
they-
sounds like it does today. I mean,
They all drink beer at the same bar in Arizona.
well, yeah, sometimes, yes. And there's a lot of breakthrough engineers that if you don't know their name, you'd never know them. But these are people that have labored long and hard to create these kind of products. And when you listen to a certain product, you have to appreciate the fact that that's kind of the intellectual property of generally the leadership of a singular engineer.
Right.
And that's part of the joy that I've experienced through the years of my career, has been working with a lot of these kind of really special
Oh,
engineers.
there's no question
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Audison and Hertz for a minute. We were talking before we went live, and I like to know history of companies and fun stuff like that. And for some reason, Audison and Hertz has always escaped my library of knowledge. But you were talking about the history a little bit, and let's touch on that for a second. So Audison, how did they start out? What was their?
Well, there was actually a small group, I want to say 3 or 4 people, and it was only a concept, and they came from the musical instrument industry. And in a small garage, literally a small garage, they...
Does everything
Hi,
start in
Dave.
a small garage?
Well, it was funny.
You know
and
Dave Koz?
Yeah, I know Dave.
Okay.
And I said, hi, Dave.
Yeah, I was just making sure you're here.
And they were toying with electronics, and so it wasn't until '84 that they actually created the company.
Okay.
And they birthed a company called Audison, and it was an amplifier. and it was basically they were focused on electronics. And so their early years, there was a lot of breakthrough products that were first and first and first. And eventually they began to create a much larger corporate umbrella. And about 11 or 12 years later, they created the Hertz line, which was to give voice to the electronics. So you have multiple paths going on. So today, there actually are 6 logos under which they operate.
Really?
Yeah. There's 2 of them are, we sell a brand called Connection, which is
Yes, the wire.
wire and accessories.
Okay.
They have a secondary line, which we don't bring to the United States, which sells components, similar to the early days. Do you want to buy an air core inductor? Do you want to buy a film capacitor?
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
Oh,
they have
okay.
a component side of the business that we don't represent here in the United States. They actually have a partnership with brick and mortar retailers in Italy called Masters.
Right.
And it's an educational, and they also look at modernizing facilities, and so they have footprints of modern retail stores that they work with retailers on, so it gives them a hands-on experience in the real marketplace. So it gives them the feedback, and it also allows them to educate those retailers.
Oh,
So I
that's
mean,
cool.
it's a really dynamic corporation. So you have those, and then you have another brand called La Voce, and La Voce is actually a wholly owned speaker manufacturing facility in China, and it is our facility.
Okay.
So you, in essence, have the best of both worlds because it's owned and controlled by the Italians, and so you have the kind of European quality manufacturing taking place in China with some of the labor benefits of it happening in China.
Okay.
And so most manufacturing facilities have a really difficult time after the Chinese New Year because everybody leaves to go home to the family and they don't come back to the city to work in the plants.
Right.
We don't have that problem. Our workers are very happy working in our facility and are proud to work there.
Oh, that's
so
good.
we get quality product, and again, back to the prime manufacturing.
Yes.
Yeah, we are prime manufacturing. So we
Okay.
build a certain amount of our electronics and we build all of our speakers that way.
What are the other companies?
Well, it'd be Hertz, Audison, and Connection, which is
Okay,
what we
those
sell
are the 3
here.
that sell here, and the other.
And then the other 3, the La Voce is our
Okay.
speaker plant, and then you have Masters, which is the retail program. I can't remember the last name.
That's
sorry,
okay.
but-
So let's talk about the branch between Audison and Hertz for a second. So the 2 companies have pretty much gone out and are 2 totally different companies now. I mean, it's the way I look at them. They've similarities in sound quality and performance, but I feel like they're 2 totally different customers now. Is that
Well,
Is that a good-
that can be a yes or no. It depends how you connect the dots for your customer.
Okay.
I mean, literally. But,
Yes.
But, what I look at it is that they are always connected at the hip because of the common corporation,
yes?
right? The moniker of Audison is that, innovation is just an instinct. It's in our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always going to be the flagship brand, and we're always going to try to strive to give the best fidelity and the best product and the most innovation. I can't say that Hertz is side drafting, but I can say that what we learned on the processor side on Audison, that technology has been side drafted onto the Hertz
Hertz.
processor,
Right.
right?
Right.
Our V-cone technology somehow kind of makes its way into Audison a little bit. Okay, so we do share technology, and
Right.
you would think sister companies would do that. Voicing on Audison drivers is a little different
Yes.
than it is voiced on Hertz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hertz is probably a unique line because we can give you everything from soup to nuts.
Yes.
So we have a $99 loudspeaker and we have a $3,000 loudspeaker, right?
Right.
And everything in between. So from a dealer's point of view, we can be kind of a one-stop solution.
Right.
Right. Audison is a little more limited. It tends to be a little bit more high-end oriented. It's more of a step-up brand for us.
Mhm.
But for a lot of customers, our processors and amplifiers work really well with our Mille Legend
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
loudspeakers, and so
Yeah.
you can have a hybridization of both brands.
Yeah.
People that like single systems, we do have speaker options on the Audison side, but probably the line that sells the most is Hertz.
Yeah. Really.
Well, because it's a mainstream speaker line, and
Okay.
because the product is voiced the way it is,
Yeah.
and the way it's set up from a business standpoint, it's the one that's probably more readily embraced. And when you look at processors and things a little more sophisticated, right? And from
Yeah.
a mainstream dealer side, you don't always get 100% participation on the
processors. Yeah.
But everybody needs speakers.
Everybody needs speakers.
I just, why deny the
Well,
obvious?
I was always pitching that Hertz should go to an analog EQ, more like an audio control style knob style.
Oh, that's interesting.
EQ, because that to me was more the speed of Hertz.
Okay.
As opposed to doing DSP, box, computer, all that. Hertz is more of a faster, upbeat. He's the punk ass kid that just wants to sound good, rolling down the street in the IROC.
Right.
He doesn't have time to sit in the car with a laptop. He just wants to turn some dials and get going.
But that customer gets a mature ear, and
Well, that's
if you
what
don't
always-
have products.
Well, yeah.
Right.
But that's what Audison comes in. So I had always pitched that the Hertz should have gone a little more.
I can tell you that the Italians are always forward-leaning,
Yeah.
and any technology that they can introduce through either brand, they're sure to do it.
Oh yeah.
Because they're
not going retro.
No. And they really are innovators, and they really hang their hat on it, and they're really quite good at it.
Well, they make nice speakers.
Yeah.
So they're in product and it's a great company. Let's talk about. We got a couple minutes left. Let's touch on Prima, just a tad.
Okay.
Prima is a multi-channel DSP amplifier, so it's an all-in-one package.
6 in, 9 out.
6 in, 9 out. They just came out with an update this year.
Yeah, it's called Forza, like the word force.
Okay.
So it's basically twice the power of our 8-channel in the line today,
Right.
with about a 20% bigger physical footprint.
Right.
So it's 8 by 85.
And honestly, if you're not comparing the two side by side, you don't even notice that
No,
20%.
no. It's pretty dense when you pick it up. It's
Yeah.
very dense.
Yeah. It's a
so-
brick.
Right. But the thing that it offers us, I think, in a lot of ways, is a lot of guys want to do a single footprint system solution, and they want to do the OEM interface, but what they're faced with is the buyer that wants that extra power kick. And in the Prima that we have today, you can build that system with multiple amps,
Right.
but we don't have a single amplifier that has big power.
Right.
And from a fidelity point of view, this is just me speaking now. It has nothing to do with
No,
Electromedia.
Right.
More power the better. I think that fidelity and headroom is really important if you're near field listening, which you are in a car.
Right.
And when you really want to get on it, it's really way less fatiguing if you have enough power to drive through the crescendos. And so, from my point of view, I'm so happy that we're getting this product.
Yeah.
Because I think it'll fill a need that is clear in the marketplace. That, I look at OEM integration like we used to look at iPhones and jailbreaking.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is break the OEM code so we can get into the signal path, and then we can do what we do inside the car.
Right.
Because with the way head units are being built today and the pacification of our customers through OEM manufacturing, is what's in the dash is more than good enough.
I like
Okay,
that.
so I'm a consumer and I
Yeah.
see this car and I'm like, holy Hannah, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And then I come to your shop and
Yeah.
go, it sounds okay, can you make it sound better? Well, in the old days we'd go, yeah, let's change your head unit out. Well, now the integration of the head unit into the dash, it's not like that's a simple
No.
solution.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And from
No.
a consumer's point of view, it's not like I want you to do that.
No, they want to keep the radio.
Right, so you got to figure out how to jailbreak in there. In the old days, it was signal summing. Now we have more
I data.
choices. And we have other methods by which we can do that.
Yeah.
Right.
And Prima has designed it to integrate with the AR iData module.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's plug and play solutions, and then allows you to do what you guys really do best, which is craft systems in the doors and in the back and subs and do all that stuff. And if we can give you an amplifier that's easy to retro into a system and gives you all the power you need and then all the control that you need, and there's no buyer's remorse because the customer doesn't have to relearn their dashboard.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, and the chimes aren't coming on at 105 dB and the
Oh,
phone's
come
ringing
on,
in the wrong
man.
place.
Everyone likes GM.
Yeah,
Come on,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
Oh, I wasn't talking about that, was I? And so anyway, yeah, I mean, we're very, very excited. And for folks that don't know this, if you go to our website, audison.eu, like European Union, if you just type that into the header, at the bottom of the landing page is a system configurator. And if you go in there, you can select a vehicle. Right now it's BMW and Minis, and eventually by the end of the year we're hoping to have F-150s in there. And when you select your vehicle and what you have, a schematic will come up with various upgrades. It's fully ID'd. You could, as a consumer, you can look at it and clearly understand it. as a retailer you can, and you can actually use it as a point of sale. And then once you select the system you want, it'll fully diagnose all the products,
Okay.
show you a picture, tell you what it does, and give you a laundry list, and it's all plug and play. And as a retailer today, we're not taking your ability to not do what you guys like to do, which is to be craftsmen, but we're giving you the tools in order to be able to satisfy a customer that is looking for an upgrade, but isn't necessarily looking for something beyond
Yeah.
just
Right.
a step.
No,
Yeah.
I totally understand it. I mean,
Not that you couldn't.
no, but I feel
Right.
the manufacturers have to get more involved because this stuff is getting harder to do, and
Right.
and there again, you know, like I didn't show you my drawer of fun over there, but I mean we have 3 RTAs, and we have a big audio control RTA, and we have every meter that they make, and every iPad, laptop. We buy all that stuff, and we use all that stuff daily. Not everyone does that.
Well, we
We
actually
even have a bit tune on the shelf over there.
right, and I was
You
going
know.
to say with the BitTune,
Yeah.
it sort of computerizes and automates the initial setup process. And if you have a BitTune, you can actually put your shop curve in it.
Yeah.
And every car will actually EQ to that shop curve. So you have a way, and think about this. Well, you answer me this question. In a given month, how many different cars do you work on?
Like different
Make, model, years.
Well,
I know that's the question
well,
you
no,
can't
actually,
really answer.
everyone that watches the show, they'll tell you the 2 cars we work on most are going to be F-150s and Jeeps.
Okay. And out of that, if you had a repeatable system that you could put in there, like a formula with a
Yeah.
DSP setting that you had saved in a memory bank, and all you had to do was plug it in, would
Yeah.
that save you time?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Would that allow you to do more cars?
Yeah.
Would you have more satisfied customers?
I would hope so.
Well,
Yeah.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And
And
actually,
that's the concept with a
That's
bit.
what we talk about.
we were actually
yeah.
talking about that more
Yeah.
for sales to make Paul's life a lot easier by
Yeah.
just.
But all you need is
Yeah.
a basic computer with a big hard drive, and you can save every curve
Yep.
that you ever do.
Yep.
And then you have a memory to draw upon, and then that curve can be your starting point.
Mm-hmm.
And like I like my steak with salt and not a lot of pepper, but I might be a guy that likes pepper and not a lot of salt. So
Right.
if you got a starting point, you can always go in and tweak.
Now I'm thinking salt and pepper are here. Okay.
Okay.
And we're in effect. Well, we didn't get to talk about your car, but that's okay. We'll have you on again sometime. Again, maybe
Yeah.
Sure.
if you come back, we you know that'd be
Give
great.
me a few more years, I'll have a few more companies.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Just kidding, just kidding.
Well, thank you
I like
so
that,
much
Wayne.
for coming on. We're going to call this one a night, guys. We're at an hour. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to us talk and tell you about
Listening to me
Thank you,
babble
Jeff.
on.
history.
Yeah.
It's been fun. You guys know where to find us. DNF Tool Drawer is the place to find all the tools. Teespring/store/5 stars where you can get the cool 5-star t-shirts if you like them. And of course, Patreon. You guys know we won't drag this out anymore. You guys have a wonderful
Thank you,
evening.
Scott.
Thank you so much for
Thanks, everybody.
tuning in. Good night. Be
Thank
safe.
you, Jeff.
And we'll see you
you're
guys.